Hello everyone, Phoenix61 here with the Legend Shenanigans for the day. Today, we are rocking the American North Carolina Tier 6 Battleship. This is the, the alternate line of battleships for the American ships. That's the, the other ones with, like, the Iowa class, right? That's, those are the fast battleships, quote, right? I like to call this the fat battleships, right? Some of these get pretty wide and hefty. North Carolina, a little bit of an exception, right? But right, so we're gonna go and head over towards the A cap here. We've got sort of a shrunken down version of this map since we are somewhat at the lower tiers, right? So we'll push out and around and see what gets spotted over here on this flank and deal with threats as they come up here, right? But for the time being, we're only spotted by airplanes, right? So you don't have to worry about getting shot by ships when you see that little airplane signal or symbol. So we'll move up. We do see that one of their destroyers got spotted right about middle spawn. So we may still have one over on this flank. We'll see if we get picked up here as we come around the corner or not. And we've got a destroyer on my team that's going to just hide behind the island here, so that's not helpful. Right, your destroyer, like at minimum, go around, like go outside, like don't tuck behind an island. Right, you can spot enemies for your teammates that'll then shoot them. Right, like it's, I don't know why you, there's just, my mind is blown every time I see that. Right, a destroyer player just tucking themselves behind an island. We get a decent shot off on that Colorado, and then we're going to take the opportunity to turn out, since I think he fired at somebody else. So we get a good chunk of damage against him. And he does fire at us, but we're angled quite well. So he does very, very little damage to us there. And then there's torpedoes from, I think, the carrier. I'm not sure what those were from. And I was about to switch to HE shells, but this Colorado, if he's going to sail broadside for us, we'll take advantage of that. Good chunk of damage, 3 pens there. Good chunk of damage on him there. So 24,000 damage we're up to already here. We could be angled a little bit better here. You see, you got a decent chunk of damage on us that time around. And then looking at the minimap, right, the other destroyer on the enemy team was spotted, right? So we don't have to worry about destroyers on our flank, for at least for the time being. And then I'm going to switch to HE since he's turning bow into us now. And he's pushed up too far, right? So he's getting focused on by our team, which is the way to do it. And then we're going to have nothing over here to shoot at for the time being. So we're going to start going forward again here. And we'll make our turn and head towards the capture. Head towards Alpha here. Get the zone.
Concentrate fire on the enemy warship.
Take a little bit to get us going and turned around here. And then I'm keeping an eye on the minimap. I might be able to shoot that cruiser. I am keeping an eye on the airplanes here to see if they come for us, though. Looks like they are not. Right, so here's Azure Lane Cheshire. See if we can get bullets on target here. We did have the HE loaded because that Colorado was bow into us before, but he went down, of course. So we'll switch back to AP after firing that salvo, see if we get any hits here. We do, but not enough damage, so that would have been nice. Probably would have finished him if we had AP. And then we are very heavily stacked on this side. So if you look at the minimap, most of the red team is pushing out over through the Charlie cap, and we don't have a lot of ships over there. And we've got 5 of us over here, right? So I'm going to sneak into the zone here and just help get the capture just for the XP. And then I'm going to start turning towards the Charlie cap to try and help as these enemies push in through the other side, right? So we're basically going to rotate back the other way instead of pushing through on this side, because this is what, like, you know, this is kind of typical of the average player, right? Some people are just going to keep pushing through on their own flank. So I'm going to assume my teammates here over to the left of me are probably going to do that. So we'll cut in and go for the defense and try and like cut off the enemy or meet them in the Charlie cap here, so to speak, I guess. Right, so both cruisers and the destroyer kept pushing around. And then this Connecticut, I think that's with me, all kind of realized the same thing as I did and is cutting back in as well. Mahan's going to not come around and out for us, so we won't be able to get a shot on him, but we're going to start getting these battleships. We're going to start being in range here pretty shortly here. Queen Elizabeth will trip the spotter plane for a little bit of better dispersion. Didn't quite lead him enough, but we do get a little bit of damage on him. And plus the defense, so we're keeping that zone out of enemy hands. That's always valuable as well. So lots of, looks like all three of these battleships on this team are quite healthy here. Queen Elizabeth looks like he's the lowest one. So I was kind of thinking we would switch and shoot the North Carolina here next, just because then we could get that zone reset. It's still ticking up because somebody else is in there. I think the destroyer must be in there as well. But if we get the North Carolina, we could potentially reset it a little bit more. And of course he goes unspotted. He's going to take torpedo hits from the carrier. Looks like he does. So that's going to reset it to... We do get a Citadel hit on him though. So we didn't get the defend banners there because the our aircraft carrier hit him almost right before us, but at the same time kind of thing, right? We can see two different smoke screens out here. So we gotta assume the destroyer is in one of these. So we will keep pushing up on these guys. We've got quite a bit of health, right? So we can be aggressive here. We just have to kind of, make sure we don't sail in a straight line here. We're a little bit concerned about the destroyer, right? Colorado has got quite a bit of health, but he's sailing nice and broadside for us, so we should be able to do pretty chunky damage to him. And sure enough, almost half his health. We are using damage build here, right? This is Azure Lane, New Jersey. So we're going to get those big chunks, especially when you get those Citadel hits. And he wasn't looking at us, right? So I was kind of thinking we could turn enough to get that rear turret on target here, too. Now he's looking at us, though. Another big hit there. Puts us up to 137 damage at tier 6. Not half bad. And I'm assuming their destroyer is off to the right, picking on my battleship ally here. Yeah, there's torpedoes. Looked like they were going for our other battleship. So we're okay for the time being here. Then I took one turret shot at the Colorado, and then the other ones were shot at the Queen Elizabeth. I was kind of hoping for the double strike there, but our ally finished off the Colorado, so we didn't get away with that. And then, yep, somebody's flagging the minimap, right? So that's probably about where the destroyer is. That makes perfect sense, especially since those torpedoes kind of came from that side.
All stations, concentrate fire on the target.
So we're just going to maneuver, make sure we don't go in a straight line here. But did manage to keep this zone out of enemy hands. There's more torpedoes. Yeah, that battleship out there is really low on health. Right, so we know where this destroyer is just based on where these are coming from. We'll try and turn in towards that one, but we do take the hit there. We'll damage con the flood. Surab is out here. It looked like he just started moving, so we're going to lead him a little bit. And I did trip the spotter plane for the extra dispersion there. That's our last one. Citadel. Citadel. Left just enough health for somebody else to finish him off there. But that put us up to 179,000 damage. And then somebody got the cruiser, so the only thing that's going to be left is the enemy destroyer. So we'll be a little bit on destroyer duty here. So I did switch to HE in case he does get spotted. And as you can see, right, the aircraft carrier picked him up over just in that corner if you look at the mini-map. So kind of that direction we're looking. So I'm going to do a full 180 here and just start heading that way. He does fire his guns, which is great. So he can fire his guns and and then drop into his smoke. And what he's going to do is he's basically baiting us to shoot our guns at him and that other battleship. And since we have such a bad smoke firing penalty as a battleship, we're going to get spotted, right? So see how we're spotted and he's not, right? So I'm not sure whether that was his plan or not, but that was what worked out for him, right? So he could potentially sit in his smoke screen and fire his guns for a little bit at us. And whether he tries to do that or not, I'm not sure. I think he would go after the other guy since he's closer. But either way, we're just going to head directly towards that smoke screen. And then we go undetected because that smoke firing penalty is 20, or firing your guns is a 20-second penalty, right? So after 20 seconds, we disappeared. But we went over the top on points anyway. So 179,000 damage is where we end up on that game. Take a peek at the leaderboard here. That 2,800 XP does put us at the top. See if we made some money on the economy tab as well. 266,000. Usually tier 6 is not a problem. And then I am using turret traverse speed here. I wouldn't do a secondary build. AA is not as common, right, for tier 6. Tier 7 you could consider AA. And then we're using propulsion mod and concealment mod for slot 2 and 3. I wouldn't use target acquisition. You can, but basically with target acquisition, right, you're going to pick up torpedoes a little bit sooner, and then you'll pick up ships at 3 kilometers range instead of 2 kilometers range. It's kind of what that's for, right? So that guaranteed detectability range would be an extra kilometer, basically, but it's really usually not worth it. You know, you really have to be really close to somebody in a smoke screen or opposite you an island or something, right? So it's pretty rare that I use target acquisition. But yeah, Colorado here for reload and shell grouping, and then Jujard is a free-to-play commander for AP pen multiplier. So it's a little bit of a mixed / damage build here. Range and shell grouping as flammable cannoneer, and then turret traverse and AP damage. Firefighter, you could use on second thought, would give you another 5% reload, right? And then Don't You Just Love It gives you that better damage with Citadel strikes, right? So, or with Citadel hits. Pretty rare that I use Farsight, kind of same scenario. And then, so I use Will to Rebuild. I know a lot of people like Fight Fire with Fire as well as another good choice. So those would be my 2 options. But that's going to be our game for the day. Thanks for watching, guys. That is the North Carolina. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please do consider subscribing. I'm still kind of a small channel, so you're one new person showing up. You are noticed, and I appreciate you. Thank you. That does help me out quite a bit as far as YouTube and algorithms and all that other fun stuff, right? So do please consider subscribing. I do have a members option as well if you want to help support the channel. I know there's quite a few of you out there that have done that, and really do appreciate that. And then I do occasionally live stream. I try to do at least once a week for Legends, right? So if you're interested in that, my schedule's kind of random. So if you're interested in watching hanging out with me on live stream, or the group, right? A lot of people participate in chat and really like that, right? But consider, I would push the bell, right? Get notifications for the channel. That way when we do go live, you get a pop-up for it. But thanks again, guys. We'll see you tomorrow.